Alrighty. Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Every Which Way podcast. For those of you who are just now tuning in, and this is your first episode, my name is Dana, and I am I guess an eclectic witch. I certainly dabble in a lot of things. I don't like to just stick to like one thing. I like to learn everything as much as I can. And I want to share what I know, what I've learned with you guys, my listeners, my friends, everyone out there. So yeah. If you're a recurring listener, welcome back to the show. It's wonderful to have you here. And if you happen to be on the Patreon, like Jen White, then I hope that you're enjoying watching this video for whatever reason, you know. I don't know, sometimes I like to actually watch the podcasts, like have them because, okay, let me rewind. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So my primary way to watch YouTube or to stream any sort of show like platform like Netflix, Amazon Prime is via my PS5 or my Amazon Fire Stick. But whenever I'm doing like chores around the house or just organizing stuff or even cooking or cleaning, I'll put on a show or podcast on my TV via those channels and listen to them there. So yeah. Is my closet door open? It is open. Hold on just one moment. Alrighty. So yeah, there we go. Sorry, while I was looking into the camera, because I'm trying to do my best to look into the camera instead of anywhere else, I saw that my closet door back there, which is where I keep my towels and my makeup and stuff like that, was open. I was like, why is it so dark? Oh, that's why. Anyway, not really important. But how have you guys been? Have you been doing all right? How was your week? How was your weekend? Did you do anything fun or exciting? Have you been taking care of yourself? Or are you enjoying the weather wherever you're at? And if not, why? I know that this past week it's been raining here in south central Pennsylvania, and I love the rain, and I do. I like just having it happen while I have like a good book or a cup of tea, and I'm just able to like just chill and enjoy myself. When I have to go to work though, I don't really like it because it just makes me want to be at home. Granted, work in general just makes me want to be at home. I just always want to be at home. That's where my cats are, it's where my stuff is. But yeah. Some exciting news, for me anyway, I think it is. If you don't know, I am a huge Zelda fan. Actually have a tattoo. For those of you who are watching this, you can see of the Triforce and the medallions from Ocarina of Time right up there surrounding it. And yeah, it's my favorite video game franchise, and it's one of my favorites. Well, the new game just came out Thursday the 26th. Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, where you get to play as Zelda. First time canonically that you can play as Zelda, because you were able to play as her in Hyrule Warriors and Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, but those are not canon, which is bull crap, but whatever. But yeah, I was naughty Friday. I called off work to play it. That's how deeply invested I am. And I got pretty far, I'm not gonna lie. I spent pretty much all day yesterday playing it, and I'm really enjoying myself. So probably after I'm done doing the few edits that I do for this and getting everything posted, and going out and doing some chores, it's probably what I'll be doing for the rest of my weekend. So yeah, but we're not here to talk about Zelda or video games. We're here to talk about witchcraft and witchy things and spiritualism. So with that being said, what exactly am I talking about today? Well, I am talking to you about familiars and servitors. Servitors. Listen, potato, tomato. That is what it is. So let's jump in. First off, what exactly is a familiar? Well, a familiar is a familiar spirit that can be an alter ego, a personal demon, a doppelganger, a spirit companion, or a personal totem of some sort. An individual's double or alter ego, though it doesn't have to look like them, if it is. It can take on a life of its own while still remaining close to its individual. It can be an animal, often referred to as an animal companion. And this definition I got was from a person named Pierre A. Riffard. That's his definition of what a familiar is. So let's get down into some history of familiars. So most documented witchcraft trials, mainly from England and Scotland, have mentions of familiars in some way, typically in the form of an animal. Such familiars were viewed as magical helpers, often harming other people and their belongings on the witch's behalf. In return, that witch would provide them with food and a home to live in. Okay, so it's a partnership, at least according to these witchcraft trial documents. And while they can eat foods such as bread, milk, beer, and cake, it was more common for them to be fed the witch's blood via sucking certain spots on her body, like warts or moles, and these spots were called witches' teats. Yeah, there you go. Historic depictions of familiars have them more as demonic animals, sometimes normal or ordinary animals, sometimes as fantastical monstrosities. So frequent animals seen in these trials and documents depict cats, dogs, toads, insects, owls, mice, and ferrets. Scholars believe that the witches feeding their familiars via a teat was a tangible or physical way to find and convict these witches, if they were actually witches. Any nipple-like bump, so again, going back to that wart or mole, could and would be seen as physical evidence that a witch's familiar demon sucked their blood. Familiars were seen as beings with agency and not innocent accomplices. So these were entities all on their own. These weren't like golems or servitors. They were their own being with their own thoughts and their own autonomy. Okay, I hope that makes sense, because it made sense to me when I was doing the research and writing this stuff out. But yeah, these were demons made corporeal. So for these people during the time of the witch craze, or the 15th to 17th centuries in, again, mostly England and Scotland, but also other parts of Europe, these were seen as demonic beings. To people Familiars were evidence of the permeable boundary that existed between humans and animals. They were the presence of demons, of demonic rituals and blood feeding among practitioners of magic. And they were also the moral and theological depravity of witchcraft and the transgression of nature that via the heart of the witch. So these things were seen as not good at all. The word itself, familiar, stems from the Latin word familiaris, first recorded in Middle English between 1300 and 1350, and it means of a household or domestic. But I've also saw in my research that comes from the French word familier, which means related or friendly. Primarily un-English, I can't read my own writing, an English phenomenon. It was first referenced in law in the 1604 Witchcraft Act. And we're going to hold on just one momento. I want to take a sip of my tea. That's why I'm holding on. If you happen to be watching this, I hope that you have a little snacky or a little drink. And if you do, let me know. Let me know what you're drinking or eating. There we go. Okay. Sorry, I had to take a little tea break there for those of you who are just listening. Okay, so I'm gonna have to I have my notes propped up against my computer screen, but now I'm gonna have to read closely because one, my eyes are bad, but also because my handwriting is atrocious. So a fella by the name of William of Malmesbury, he had this documentation called the Gesta Regum Anglorium, and it is considered the first text to reference a witch's relationship to a familiar. Okay, now I'm going to set this back down where I had it. There we go. Everything's nice and easy. Okay. Widespread let's do that again. Widespread popular belief in familiars didn't really come about prior to the 1560s in England. Prior to the 17th century, familiars and imps both were believed to be a species or manifestation of the Fae folk. Terms such as familiar, imp, brownie, and fairy were kind of, in a way, interchangeable. I don't want to say that they positively were, but they were treated as all part of the same family and species. I hope that makes sense. This is due to the similarities between them, such as shape-shifting into animals and their joy of playing pranks. Sometimes malicious, mean pranks, and sometimes just little harmless ones. The inquisitors of the witch craze believed that familiars were gifts to witches from Satan himself, bestowed to them upon their initiation at Sabbats. The animal forms were mere illusions, the imp or demon being the true physical form, visage of a familiar. Some believed that familiars were servants of witches, while others held the notion that the familiars were the ones giving witches orders on the devil's part. So kind of acting as a messenger or middleman between the witch and the devil. Okay? Familiars didn't need to be seen or to be physically present to exist. And this is because they could transform at will and make themselves invisible if it tickled their fancy. Or they could be seen, but only by their witch or by a witness or accuser of a witch. Okay? So, yeah. This made it possible for people who had no contact with animals whatsoever to be accused and convicted of having a familiar and of being a witch. Some inquisitors even held fast to the notion that only a witness or an accuser could see the familiar. And them being the only ones being able to see them was considered concrete, hard proof of witchcraft. Okay? So, with that being said, circling back to the relationship, the correlation, if you will, between the Fae folk and familiars. A man by the name of John Walsh, and can I just say that when I was doing my research and this guy's name came up, I immediately thought of Mr. Walsh from The Princess Diaries, that early movie from the 2000s with Anne Hathaway and Julie Andrews. I don't know why. I have not seen that movie in years, but that just popped up, and I wanted to share that with you. And we're pausing the vocal recording for another tea break. So, tea. It's tea-rific. Yeah, there we go. The quality content that you pay for, my friends. Well, there you go. Anyway, John Walsh from Dorset, in August of 1566, was brought in on accusations of sorcery. And during his examination, he told his examiners that he had met fairies on the hills surrounding his home, either at midnight or during midday. And at these meetings, he would draw circles and light candles to, and I quote, raise the familiar spirit. He'd ask these familiar spirits about stolen belongings and who had been cursed. And the familiars, or the Fae, would tell him. And that's all I got on John Walsh. I just wanted to add that kind of testimonial or that particular instance in, just to show that there was a relationship, a correlation of the Fae folk with familiars. A witch could be gifted a familiar by the devil himself, good old Satan, just Father Satan, just giving people demonic little imps. They could either share one with a group of witches, they could have one passed down to them from another witch, or one could just appear out of the blue like a Korok in Tears of the Kingdom and be like, ha ha ha, you found me, now you're stuck with me, stuff like that. Familiars have been mentioned in the Bible, not by familiars, but as necromancers or spirit guides to sorcerers. And the few occasions that they have been mentioned as familiars have been sparse. From what I've researched, I've never actually read the Bible myself. I have no intention to. But that's just what I came across. Just throwing that out there. There were occasional and sparse reports of human familiars that were in the shape of a human, a person. during the Middle Ages, typically in Western Europe, but these were mostly referred to as a demon possessing a human's body. But I wanted to throw that in there because the thought of a human familiar is kind of scary to me. I don't know why, but it just was like, I mean, the regular familiar is fine, but human familiar, it's a little spooky. I don't know why. Certain things scare me. So a witch could have several familiars, not just one, but numerous. Black cats were a favorite form, and this unfortunately was a reason, not just the only reason, but a reason as to why so many cat massacres happened all throughout Europe during this time. And familiars could also have more than one shape, though. So, there you go. Not all familiars were seen as evil, however. Familiars that served wizards, wise men, or women healers who helped to identify illnesses or diseases, who helped to find causes or sources of bewitchment or curses, and those who were looking for lost or stolen items were accepted generously. Modern day, so that was a little history. Now we're entering the modern day of what witches or those who work with familiars, how they work with them, what they view them. So modern day witches, average across the board for the most part, and this is just, an average, view familiars as spirit guides. They are their own entity with a consciousness of their own. They can manifest as an aspect of nature. So yes, they can manifest as animals, and that is common, but they can also appear as trees or even the land itself. Okay? But aspects of nature is always a big main thing. A familiar spirit is part of one's soul family. So this is a spirit that has that soul connection to their witch or their person, if that makes sense. And just like I said a couple minutes ago of historical witches, modern day practitioners can have one familiar, they could have several familiars, or they could have none at all. It just depends on the circumstance and the path that they are on. As a familiar is one singular incarnated spirit guide, they won't appear as different forms. So the familiars that are spoken of today, they are one entity, one being that have one form. So they're not going to be these shape-shifting trickster beings. Okay? Familiars are helpers. They are partners to their person or their witch. They help them grow as a person. They help grow in their spiritual or magical practice. And they help to support their soul journey and connect them to their heart and their heart space. Familiars are ancient beings. They're not babies. Like, they're not new souls. They're older. They've been around for quite some time and they've seen a lot. And they are partners who support and assist their chosen by helping them to learn to identify their wounds and their trauma. Familiars can also help to breach barriers and blockages that the person is facing in order to allow them to connect better to their heart and their heart space. They tend to arrive in a divinely orchestrated way, but they can also appear out of the blue and during a normal, mundane circumstance. And it can happen at any time, anywhere, and during any point in a person's life. There is no concrete, at this date, on this time, you will be granted this familiar. That's not how it works. They come when they want to, when it's time to, or whatever. Whenever. 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 We're meant to be together. Okay. That was a thing. So we're gonna take another sip of tea. Oh, this is so good. It's Long Island strawberry from the Dollar Tea Club, which rip the Dollar Tea Club. They had such good tea, and it saddens my heart that they're no longer themselves, but Mosey tea. I don't really care for that. Not one bit. Okay, but let's get back to the vocal recording, shall we? I need to find my place, though, in my notes. Ah, found it. And that's what I have on familiars. Now, servitors, which, if you need me to spell it, I will. It's Servitor. That's what a servitor. They are spirits or entities that are created by a magical practitioner, and they have a set purpose assigned to them by said magical creator. They have no consciousness of their own or autonomy beyond their intended purpose. They remain in spirit form, but they have an object or an effigy that they are bound to, that whoever creates them binds them to a physical object or relic. Due to their life coming from their creator, they are bound to them via that creator's energy or spirit. When creating a servitor, the creator needs to be crystal clear on why they're creating that spirit, on the job or task it is to perform, and the limitations it needs to stay in to perform that job or task. And the reason why that is because if you give a servitor a vague command, a vague job, like all you say is protect my home, that's it, and you don't put any guidelines or limits on that, they're going to protect your home however they can, because you didn't set any limitations. So they could protect your home from a burglar. They could protect your home from a Girl Scout going door to door selling Girl Scout cookies. They could protect your home from you because you didn't specify stuff like that. So it's important to make sure when you are creating your servitor, if you do, that you have a set outline and strict, clear as day functions and limitations to it, because it can get out of control real fast, is what I'm saying, and you don't want that to happen because it could hurt somebody. And I mean, if you want to hurt people, that's totally up to you, but generally speaking, it's good to have those limitations. For example, let's say that you want to create a household or family guardian servitor. You will want to have it protect everyone in your household. So say while you're creating your servitor, you get either a nail clipping or a piece of hair from everyone who lives in your household or everyone in your family. You're going to want to incorporate that when crafting your servitor and bind it to them to protect them spiritually and physically within your set of rules for them. As a servitor is attached to your energy, their actions should not contradict, conflict, or exceed your own ethics or morals. So if you're against murder, don't be like, hey, servitor, go and kill this person. That's kind of contradictory and hypocritical. And maybe don't do that. I'm just saying. So, servitors are advanced thought forms, okay? And they have a creative process. And I'm going to share that creative process with you here in case you are interested in creating your own. But this is just an outline of the creative process and not a deep dive into the process. So this leaves a lot of room for how you, in your own personal practice, would want to create a servitor if you want. Okay? So step 1. The first step is your intent and purpose. You're going to want to define the specific purpose or task for your servitor. Okay? Step 2. The form and appearance. For this step, you're going to want to create a visual or symbolic representation of your servitor. And this can include unique traits and characteristics. So one example that I saw is that someone creates a servitor, their servitors when they do them, with air drying clay, and they have them shaped or molded into that physical form for the specific servitor it's intended to. If that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Number 3. Intent and energy infusion. So this is where you're going to charge your servitor and the physical vessel itself with your own energy and with the intention with its intended purpose. And you can do that by lighting a candle, visualization, singing to it, however you infuse your energy into anything. Totally fine to do that with your servitor, okay? And the final step is activation and eventual release. So you're going to activate your servitor by giving it a specific command or a trigger. So like a phrase, protect. No, that's too vague. But with a command or a trigger. And it doesn't have to be like you saying the specific criteria. So you don't have to get in depth. That is done during your intention and energy infusion. But don't quote me on that, okay? Do not quote me on that. And this is also the process where you establish the conditions for the eventual release or deactivation of your servitor. So once you have created it and put it where you want to, you're going to want to continually feed this spirit. You're going to want to constantly give it your energy. And this is crucial, especially during the very first month of its existence, to help it grow. Think of it kind of like a human baby. You do the sex to have it created. It grows inside of your womb if you are a female with female reproductive organs. And then you give birth to it, but you have to feed it, you have to nurture it, you have to care for it. You want to do the same thing with your servitor so that it grows strong and healthy so that it can carry out its intended function or purpose. Okay? And servitors can be created for protection. They can be created to gather information. They could be created for personal guidance, for energy manipulation, and for creative inspiration. There are a lot of other things as well, but those were the top ones that I saw. They are a good choice for a being, an entity, I suppose, because they're flexible, you can customize them, they can help to bolster self or personal empowerment, and they can work independently and without needing their creator's constant involvement. So while you may be feeding your energy to it, like every day for at least for that first month, however much time you want to, after that first crucial month, you don't need to like baby it and attend to it quite as closely as you would, like going back to that human baby metaphor. Okay, you don't have to like do the constant feeding, the bathing, the changing of the diapers and all that stuff. Of course you still want to feed it your energy to help it stay strong and activated, but you don't have to be quite as in depth once that initial first month is over. Okay. And the last thing that I have is how to release or deactivate them. And I found two primary ways that you could do this. The first being destroying the effigy or the physical object that they're attached to. So I mentioned earlier about how one account makes air dry clay molds for their servitors. Smashing or destroying that mold would release or deactivate the servitor. Okay? But you could also starve it by not giving it your energy or feeding it any of your own energy or giving it acknowledgement. By ignoring it, you can starve it and it will wither away and die. And I wanted to add that because I know for me, sometimes I do like spell jars and then I put them somewhere and I forget about them and I don't give them the energy that they need and they kind of fizzle out and deactivate. You don't want that to happen because that was kind of a waste of your energy, your time, the materials that you did. And of course the purpose that you created for it no longer is served. But that's what you can do if you want to deactivate or release your servitor. And that is all I have on familiars and servitors. So to recap, modern day familiars are seen as spirit guides in a way. They're spirits who are their own entity. They've been around for far longer than any of us have on this planet in this lifetime. And they're here to help us. They are part of our soul family. They're here to help us grow and mature, to overcome the obstacles that are in our life so that we can sit in our heart space and love and be the people that we want to be. Servitors are manifestations that we create for a specific purpose that perform their duty within a specific set of rules or guidelines. They don't have any autonomy like familiars, and they only do the function that they were created to do, okay? And like I said, that's all I got for you guys today. I hope that that was informative. I hope that I didn't fumble too much. I know that I talk and think. Sometimes I talk faster than what I'm thinking. Sometimes I think faster than what I talk. So I can jumble my words together and I just have mush mouth. But yeah, I hope that you all have a great day. I really do. I'm going to take a sip of tea and I'm not going to pause the recording like I did earlier. Love me some tea, man. I hope that you all have a great week. Take care of yourself. Drink some water. Eat a vegetable, okay, or a fruit. Do something good for yourself and your body. And more importantly, have a marvelously magical Monday. I will see you guys all in the next recording. And before I turn off the recording, again, like I said, mushmouth. If you guys could do me a huge favor and share this podcast with whoever, that would be great. I would greatly appreciate it. I know it gets old and tiring hearing creators constantly be like, share, and subscribe. But they do that because it does help, and it would genuinely help if you just spread the word of this podcast. I would appreciate it. While I'm on this tangent, I was looking at my statistics, and my goodness, this podcast has gone to different countries that I never thought, like Germany, which is cool, Russia, also pretty neat, but also India. We got Peru and Chile. It's just so cool how with I know that technology has been around, like modern technology has been around. We've been able to spread and connect to places that maybe physically we can't get to because of reasons. But to know that people in other countries, like England, my goodness, are listening to me, that's just, it's something else. It's something else, and it's special. And it just, every time I look at them and a new country pops up and just like, wow. Or even when I'm just looking at them and it's just the same old, I'm just like, my goodness, I cannot believe that I've reached these people. And it's just, it's so cool, and it's very humbling. So, thank you. Even if you don't share or spread the good word about the podcast, just having you, the listener, yes, you listener, listening to me is amazing. And it's very rewarding for me. And I cannot express my gratitude enough. But I hope that it reaches you, and that the gratitude that I do feel comes off as sincere when I say thank you. Thank you. Have a great day, guys. I will see you in the next one.